Yes.
Is there anything that you wish you could do better with the first series?
Oh, wow. That's a terrible question to ask, Greg. Really, all I'm going to say is everything. Let's see. Yes. So, very specifically, the first thing would be Atreus' sort of moment of ego, right? He goes through that period of time where he starts to realize, like, we're gods. Like, this is awesome. I can do whatever I want, right? Now, in a real human life, that takes a few years to develop, right? You go through a lot of stuff. You start to lose connection with reality simply because you start to believe your own hype. And we didn't have the kind of time that it really would take, but we did have a lot more time than was allotted in the game. That was a section that we ended up cutting a good 2 hours out of. So there would have been about 110 minutes, maybe, probably to be fair, of Atreus kind of getting more and more of, as we call jerk mode, right? And he would just become more and more of a jerk. And we had to kind of shift everything all the way back. So he starts becoming a jerk right when you get to the boat. And he says, you know, can turn into a wolf, can turn into an animal, and then you start going. And then you get out into the lake, and he's just like, well, we can go wherever we want. We're gods, right? And that begins the transition. But if you kind of beeline exactly where you're supposed to go, you end up accelerating through that, and it does feel very abrupt. It's something we saw the whole time, but realized there's just nothing we could do because we had literally cut out an entire level and rearranged a few things. So things were in a slightly different order, and in doing so, it kind of messed up the thing. So that's one of the hardest things about game development and character development inside of game development is you tend to start shifting pieces around as you get further along in the game, and you realize pacing-wise things are not working. And when you do that, sometimes this hour you had to do banter, you don't have that hour anymore. But you don't have a cinematic to support it. You're just doing it in gameplay, which I think is super organic and fantastic. It's really good. It makes you feel like you connect to the characters. But when you do all that stuff, you completely make your writers hate you. And they have little voodoo dolls and they start stabbing them, right? Suddenly things are falling out of the sky when you're going in the writer's office. Like, yeah, it's very odd. But yeah, that was a difficult part. That I would absolutely love to have gone back and fixed. You know what? I'll take a little ownership over. A lot of people have having some trouble with the final Valkyrie. You know?
Yeah.
I was okay. I complained a little bit, because I'm not as good at games as our combat team. Our combat team is like savant level video game people. So to them, they're like, whatever, it's no big deal. Like playing it, like looking the other direction while playing it on the hardest mode, you know, and then like one hand is like, it's really easy. They don't get hit, and they're just like, you just got to get good at the game. And I'm like, I have been dying for 2.5 hours. And like,
yeah.
Look, maybe you're just not playing hard enough, or try different armor. So I pushed a little bit on it, but did want the challenge to be there, and I think I still am on the fence about it, simply because a lot of people who say it's really hard and then they beat it, they feel really good about that. And that was the point of that, was to feel like that was the insurmountable challenge, and that the Valkyries were hard, but the Valkyrie Queen is the culmination of everything that you've done, and that sort of randomization aspect means there is no pre-learning of patterns. You have to be paying attention. So, I don't know, I think I would reconsider that when I look back a little bit, and then, you know, I had to get rid of the several bosses in the game. Like, there was a lot more of this game than anybody knows. You know, a lot of people are wondering, what's the giant eagle in the background in Valheim? Yeah. I'm not going to tell you today, but it was awesome, and really, it was part of the original pitch, actually. It's interesting. That eagle was part of the original pitch when I was giving to the team, and I really didn't have the story fully worked out. So I had the note card stack, and my note card stack was about this tall, but I had to pitch to the team in 2 weeks. So I had to create the stack this tall and pad the story out just so I had something to tell people and let them know that, okay, it's okay, 150 people have something to do for the next few years. So the eagle that's an eagle, by the way. In Norse mythology, there is references to eagles in Helheim, so you would find out about that if you read about that. But yeah, who knows? Maybe that will appear later.
Thank you.